My name is Stirling Hinchliffe. I like to spell it so everyone gets it right on the subs. Stirling Hinchliffe. I can say some more words. These are more words. That's good. Well, I might start very briefly with an update on the pandemic numbers for today. Case information is the following. There's 5,141 new cases, including 3,545 positive rat outcomes. That means there's 46,287 active cases. Deaths, sadly, there are 4 deaths to be reported today. Those 4 deaths reported have occurred in known aged care residents. I can give some stats on the COVID care in hospital. There are 503 patients in public hospitals, including 17 in ICU, 48 patients in private hospitals, including 2 in ICU, and there are 2,470 cases in HHS virtual wards, or the hospital in the home program. So I know people like to get the number of school-age cases. So there are 645 cases reported in school-age children in the past 24 hours. 303 of those are in primary school-age children. 342 of those are in secondary-age school children. 6 cases in school-age children are currently hospitalised. 2 of those are primary school-aged and 4 of those are secondary school-aged. So happy to have dealt with that, and then we'll move on to talking about the opportunities that are represented by the further reopening of our international tourism economy. And it's great to be here with Rachel Crowley from Brisbane Airport Corporation here at the Brisbane International Airport as we launch some further commitments and campaigns to get more New Zealanders visiting Queensland, particularly as the weather turns, and it turns a lot more bitterly in New Zealand than it does here in beautiful subtropical and tropical Queensland. So while we are already seeing the opportunities and reopening of the movements between New Zealand and Queensland, it's great to be able to add to that further with these campaigns. And while we do see our airports running really quite hot at the moment during the turnover and changeover of the school holiday period at the back end of Easter for our domestic travellers, it's great to see that this can further be reopened to international travellers and further respond to the need and the hole that's been in our tourism and our international tourism industry. Obviously, international tourism is a $6 billion industry for Queensland pre-pandemic, and we want to see that build back as soon as possible. $600 million of that has been generated out of the New Zealand visitors. New Zealand represents our second largest international market pre-COVID, and we want to see that come back very, very soon. We know that there are friends and family who want to reunite and come back together, and Queensland during this winter is definitely the place to do that, and that's why it's great to see Tourism and Events Queensland partnering with Ignite Travel Group to launch the My Queensland product into New Zealand, and that's happening as of today. We'll see that product get out and about, being advertised through billboards, digital, and through other traditional media right throughout New Zealand, as I say, from today, offering a whole lot of great packages and opportunities for Kiwi friends to come and visit us here in Queensland. But we'll also see next week Air New Zealand throw open a big campaign of its own with a bunch of discounted fares and packages aimed at getting our Kiwi friends here to Queensland through here at Brisbane Airport, but to a range of airports right across Queensland. And I know that we'll see those flights into New Zealand, from New Zealand into airports that aren't currently accepting those flights into the Sunshine Coast and cairns in as early as July. So we're looking forward to that, all of those different routes reopening in the near future. And that all gets added to even further as we, through Tourism and Events Queensland, take our days like this advertising campaign that so many Queenslanders have got to know pretty well and so many Australians have got to know pretty well, and take that into New Zealand next month as well. So across these 3 different campaigns, we're really significantly boosting telling our story and inviting our Kiwi friends to come and visit us here in Queensland, particularly as it cools down, as the winter gets a bit tougher in New Zealand. Queensland is the place to be. Come and visit those friends and family. Come and see those places that you've been thinking about and dreaming about during some dour circumstances in New Zealand during the impacts of the pandemic. We know that there is pent-up demand, but we're ready to accept it and see it come into the state and see those visitors enjoy everything that Queensland has to offer. So happy to maybe let Rachel say a few words and then answer some questions.
Thank you so much, Minister. On behalf of everyone at Brisbane Airport Corporation, I really want to congratulate the Minister and thank him and the government and everyone at Tourism and Events Queensland for this investment and this campaign activity that's going to be running over the coming months. It's really important that this sort of work is done to stimulate that demand and to drive that conversion from people just dreaming about an autumn and winter holiday in Queensland into actual travel. And that's going to make a real difference. Prior to the pandemic, Queensland received about, or through Brisbane Airport, around 1.5 million Kiwi and Australian passengers on our trans-Tasman routes. Obviously it's a lot lower than that now, but this is the sort of time when we're rebuilding our networks and our connections across the trans-Tasman. So this sort of activity, this campaign work, this investment is really important in rebuilding, but most of all it's an investment ultimately in the tourism industry and the hospitality industry across the state as a whole. So we're really excited about it. We're looking forward to seeing a rebuilding of those aviation connections. We're really grateful for the support of Qantas and Air New Zealand, who are both flying at the moment on trans-Tasman routes, and we're really looking forward to seeing more and more cities added to our network across the trans-Tasman. We are in continual negotiations with many carriers around the world, and I certainly won't be flagging too many that we're in the middle of negotiations with, but absolutely, and we're really proud and really pleased with the partnership that we have formed with the state government, with that significant war chest that we're co-contributing to in order to bring those international carriers back so that we can get Brisbane back to where it was. And it was the source of 75% of all international travellers throughout Queensland, and we need to build back for that, and we need to get Brisbane Airport back to being the major gateway for our state, but also one of the most important gateways for the country as a whole. Brisbane Airport has the largest domestic network of any airport in the country, so this is a really great entry point for visitors from all corners of the world, and we're working hard on that. Oh, there's a number, so there's many from all parts of the world. Obviously large swathes of Asia are still not as open as other parts, and our European connections are largely through Emirates and Qatar Airways, and those are back, and Singapore Airlines and Qantas. We've got some North America coming back, so it's going to be, it'll be a slow build, but we're working very hard on it. So internationally, our numbers are sitting at around about, we're probably averaging around about 5,000 a day. That's still very low compared to pre-pandemic, but certainly it's an awful lot better than our very worst days of the pandemic. But from a domestic perspective, passenger numbers have been really significant. Today alone, we'll see about 58,000 passengers through the domestic terminal and around 52,000 tomorrow. I want to take the opportunity to congratulate our teams and all of our partners at the domestic terminal in particular. While it has been tremendously busy down there, everyone has made it work like clockwork. And really, we haven't experienced particularly bad delays for people. But I really want to caution passengers to keep with those tips that we've been sending out. Do come 2 hours before your flight. Particularly tomorrow, it's going to be very busy in the morning, and with everyone doing the right thing and coming early, that's how we've been able to manage these really large passenger flows. We would average pre-pandemic between 17,000 and 20,000 international passengers a day. So it is a long way off that, and it will take some years likely to build back to those sorts of numbers. No, we haven't at Brisbane. We've been really fortunate, and I particularly want to congratulate passengers. Everyone's done the right thing, and everyone's listened to all of our advice and taken notice of all those tips to come early, to, if they possibly can, try to travel with just carry-on baggage, to check in advance if they can, check in online. So passengers have done a brilliant job, and our staff have done a great job, and we're all really, really grateful for that. So it's actually been quite a smooth process at Brisbane. So we've been very, very happy with how it's all worked. You're right. No, I was just going to say, but it's tomorrow's still busy, and the next few days are going to be busy, so we can't rest on our laurels.
China was your biggest market.
Yes.
How much is that hurting? That obviously worth a lot of money.
Yeah, China was a very big market from a tourism industry perspective, absolutely. We had a handful of direct flights from China, from mainland China into Brisbane Airport. We don't know when those will come back, but certainly the absence of the Chinese inbound market at the moment into Australia is significant. And that's why we're making all of these efforts to build other markets, to really, I suppose, cross that threshold as much as we possibly can and fill that gap over the coming years. But yes, it's a major impact.
You're hoping the Kiwis will want to come and enjoy some winter sun?
There's no better place to be than Brisbane and southeast Queensland in particular, and North Queensland in the autumn and winter. It's the greatest place on earth. It's the best climate at this time of year. So I've got no doubt there'll be a few Australians who'll want to go over there and do some skiing, but there'll be plenty of Kiwis who'll be wanting to get out of the bitter cold and have a lovely warm autumn and winter here in Brisbane. It's a mix. It's consumer demand. So definitely, airlines obviously need to make a profit out of their routes, and they need to be able to make them pay for themselves. So consumer demand's really important, but it's a very, very competitive and complex aviation industry globally right now. Every destination, every market in the world is in a way fighting for those carriers to come back. So we've all got a lot of work to do together and taking a real Team Queensland approach, and that's what we've done. We're working together to work with carriers to attract them back, to incentivise them to come back, but also we've really got to work really hard, much like this campaign, this campaign activity that the government's announced, to stimulate that consumer demand so that the airlines feel very confident that they can bring these services back and that they can work financially. It's a bit of a mix. So we are doing, predominantly at this stage, there's still, we've still got our European connections, so our Emirates and Qatar. There's a bit of this Kiwi activity now that we've got Auckland and Wellington back and Christchurch. And then there's going to be a range of, there's still some of the Asian carriers, so Singapore Airlines is carrying quite a few people. So it's a mix across the board, but we really want to see, and of course Qantas are back with Los Angeles, we really want to grow North America, we really want to grow the European, and where we can in those Asian markets that are opening up, we've really got to boost that. But New Zealand's a huge part of it and very, very important for us.
Is it unusual in that respect that Asia is sort of continuing, predominantly China, zero COVID policy when the rest of the world is sort of reopening?
I think that's clear. It is unusual, yes. At the moment, that is it, that Asia is if you're speaking sort of more broadly, the Asian market is the one at the moment that is slower, I suppose, to return to in a way, COVID normal environment than we've seen. We would love to see connections back to Hawaii, and those conversations are ongoing with all of our carriers.
In terms of this number of that 5,000,
I don't have a crystal ball, but it would be lovely to see us get up, particularly if we can make some other connections and other carrier connections into other Kiwi cities. It'd be great to see those numbers. It'd be wonderful to see 5,000 Kiwis alone every day.
Just finally, those other markets that you're missing out on, how much in terms of revenue are you missing out on in terms of tourism dollars, both Brisbane Airport and tourism?
Well, I think the Minister, if you speak more broadly to tourism, if you'd like to, and getting those numbers back.
Yeah.
So how much are we missing out on in terms of tourism?
It's certainly the case that. Thank you. It's certainly the case that our markets, that New Zealand market, for instance, is down in terms of visitors to Queensland is still down close to 90%. So from a $600 million market pre-pandemic, you can see the impact that it's having. But that's the one that we do think can bounce back really, really strongly. And that's why this focus on making sure that marketing goes into ensuring that our bros know that Queensland's open and they're good to go and they're very welcome.
Did you just say
our bros know?
Are you hoping that our pros will ditch the woolies and get some budgie smugglers instead?
Oh, I think it'd be fantastic to see our Kiwi friends make sure that they can leave those woolly jumpers behind and turn up here in their cozies and togs and whatever New Zealanders call them, and get out there and enjoy everything that Queensland has to offer in a beautiful winter, a sunny winter that they're not going to experience at home.
How much is Queensland paid? Just generally.
We've seen a fantastic Easter and people are very, very upbeat about what they've experienced. We've seen occupancy rates at the Sunshine Coast, Gold Coast, into central Queensland, well and truly up there pretty close to capacity. Still, those destinations that remain to have that strong international focus, like tropical North Queensland, haven't had the same experience, but they've still done pretty well. From what I understand, for instance, Port Douglas had 85% plus occupancy rates over this holiday period. So that's been very positive. But of course, in this, I'd encourage people, Queenslanders, there are still some opportunities to get out there over the coming 2 long weekends. Take advantage of that opportunity and get out there and enjoy what Queensland has to offer. But at the same time, that's why, as we come off the back of this sort of period of a short spike, it's vitally important that we support this approach and in incursion into New Zealand to make sure that our Kiwi friends know that we are good to go and they're very welcome to have a wonderful winter break. It's out of the investments that are being made are out of the Tourism and Events Queensland budget. They are commercial and confidence arrangements, but they are out of the usual budgeting process, the things that we do to do campaigns on a regular basis. But it is important that we're targeting them in the right way to the right markets.
Is there enough money in that budget? Is there a fight on by every major city? Do we have more money to get past that?
Well, our $200 million war chest, as Rachel described it, our $200 million aviation attraction war chest here in Queensland, a great partnership between the aviation industry and represented by the international airports and the Palaszczuk government, is nation leading. We have the biggest war chest in order to get back those routes internationally back to Queensland destinations, and we're very pleased and very excited that we've got that opportunity to lead the nation. Well, we've been calling for that, along with other jurisdictions across the country, for a long time. Whoever's willing to stand up and make that commitment at a federal level would be very welcome.
Generally, in terms of these 3 campaigns, what makes them stand out from previous tourism campaign? What makes them special and what's being showcased?
Well, I guess we're very particularly making sure that they're not just aspirational, they're not just about telling people the story of why Queensland's an outstanding destination to come to with a range of experiences and opportunities, but they also involve packages, they also involve deals. So we want to make sure that this, we turn aspiration and intent into conversion, and we get those Kiwis taking up these packages, taking up these offers through My Queensland and through Air New Zealand to enjoy a great winter break this winter, but also we'll continue to do the groundwork to make sure that we build aspiration for the longer term as well. There's a range of deals that I can't cite off the top of my head, but I'm happy to share with you, and I know there's some ones that we can provide and some information, background information, but there's equally those deals that Air New Zealand are offering. I know they won't be released until they release them next week. They keep their cards pretty close to the chest, as all the operators in this space do. So they'll be out next week. But some of those My Queensland offers that are online today, we can share with you.
Queensland is subsidised, and if you want to go over to New Zealand, will you get access to the same cheap fares?
I'm not interested in getting. I'm the Tourism Minister for Queensland. I'm not interested in getting people to go visit New Zealand.
You're subsidising.
No, what we're doing is supporting packages and promoting those packages and helping with the promotion of those packages that operators are providing, and those operations are all about, particularly with the My Queensland package, are all about holidaying here in Queensland.
Just one last one for you, sorry. My question earlier, how much missing out on those other markets in 13 the airport? And how much are you missing in terms of the annual revenue, which is pre-pandemic? There's still a multi-million dollar hit to these.
Absolutely. International travel and international passengers are really important to our bottom line. The return of domestic and seeing that recover quite quickly has been extremely helpful to us, but there's no question over the last couple of years, from a financial perspective, the impact on us has been enormous. But just as importantly, and I think this is something that in many respects really matters to us even more, it's been an enormous impact on the small businesses who operate out here, particularly our retailers. You think of all the retailers in this terminal who for nearly 2 years had their doors closed. It's beyond joyful to see them being able to reopen and employ people again. So it has been a very significant impact on ourselves, on our airline partners, but most particularly on our small business partners in our terminals.
In terms of those deals in New Zealand, I know you won't know the specifics, but do people expect to save money if they want to come across Queensland?
That would absolutely be a question for Tourism and Events Queensland. So, and I'm sure that there's, as the Minister said, a range of packages and a range of different price points. And I've got no doubt, because TEQ is really good at what they do, that there's going to be some great deals there for people at every price point they need. Most of them have. There are a handful that haven't, and because passenger numbers are fluctuating during the day, some of them are opening for shorter periods than normal, but at least they're getting back to some semblance of normality, so that's a lovely sight to see.
Thank you very much.
Thanks all.
Thank you.